You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
Well, I'm glad that I was wrong. Every once in a while you have to be wrong, and this time I'm happy I was wrong that the Senate and the GOP actually did their job last night as they passed the tax reform bill. I had my doubts about several of the senators there that were sitting to the side making comments. So I had my doubts that it would get to the floor and that they would actually do their job. But they did. And I'm glad I'm wrong. But there's still a lot more work to do because now it's going to go back into conference. Both the House and the Senate have got to meet together, and they got to take the House bill and they got to take the Senate bill and somehow create a better bill that both sides will vote on. And then if it passes both sides, then it goes to the desk of the president and he can sign it. So there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. I think what I'm really kind of frustrated with is that if you look at the Democrats, they didn't bring anything to the table. Now, last night they brought some amendments that were really trying to derail the passage of the tax bill, and they were really stupid ones, especially from Bernie Sanders. My God. And he actually stood there and said, yeah, I wanted this to gut the bill. I want my bill to gut your bill. Which is really stupid. So you have these Democrats that are now coming out, if you look at Facebook, you look at Twitter, and they are coming out with the Republicans rammed this thing through. How many months have we been talking about this? Over a year now. Ever since the election, we have been talking about tax reform, and the Democrats just sit there and moan, they groan, they complain, they point fingers, they call people names. Let me tell you, Democrats, this hate game is getting very, very old. Americans are sitting here, especially, I want you to listen to these words. The silent majority that you lost to really big time in the last election are sitting here and listening to how you're performing. And right now you're not performing your job very well at all. I ask that each and every single one of you challenge these Democrats. Challenge them on mere fact and mere data, common sense. Because they have got to stop sitting there and saying that the world is going to end if this tax bill passes. And now, after 8 years of driving and doubling the debt in 8 years, now they come to the table worried about the debt of the nation. Every time that dollar sign went up on the debt, why didn't you say anything back then? But you didn't. You kept passing more extensions and more extensions onto the debt. In fact, you even raised the limits, the ceiling on the debt. Never said anything, never complained, never moaned and groaned, never said anything hateful, just kept on doing it. And so the debt doubled under the Obama administration. And I point fingers at the Republicans too, because they didn't do anything either. But in the meantime, we need a tax reform very, very badly in this nation. And we need to get to the point that we keep talking about taxes and the simplification of taxes. Because the tax code gets you and me into trouble if we bend or we don't follow the tax code, the 74,000 pages that's sitting there in front of us. Because we don't understand when we sign under penalties and perjuries on your tax return, you have no idea what you're signing. All that you know is that you're getting a refund or that you owe. But in between the pages, you have no idea how you got to that point. It's so complicated. So we need to continue to work on simplifying the tax code. This bill just does a tiny bit. It's a start, it's a beginning. But right now it does a tiny bit. And we still need to do more. So don't think that it's done, because there's still more work that needs to be done on the United States tax code. And for you states out there who are moaning and groaning, especially you, Gavin Newsom, who is sitting there pointing fingers and complaining and moaning and groaning and putting down the president and putting down the GOP and all that other stuff that you're doing, you're worthless, because you are the lieutenant governor of a state where you raise taxes every single moment that you can. You just raise the gas tax and all the other hidden taxes that are associated with that gas tax. And you sit there moaning and groaning and you point fingers, and you don't do anything for your people. You don't do anything for your state. You just keep raising taxes. You take more out of people's paychecks than any other state. But yet you point fingers at people when they're trying to reduce taxes and they're trying to streamline the tax system, which is called tax reform. So you have 9,000 businesses that leave your state because it's overly taxed. Medium wage earners are leaving the state because they can live better in other states that are less taxed. The costs are lower. So, you Democrats have got to stop moaning and groaning and start looking at this nation as a nation where people are trying to survive with a government that has gone wacky. You're trying to get your fingers in every single bit, every single part of our lives. That's not what this nation was built on. People came to this country because they were trying to get away from a king and him trying to tax people on everything and trying to tell them how to worship. So what did they do? They came to the United States because they wanted to start a country that was less government, less control on their lives. And over time, in the history of this nation, the government has become more involved in every single part of our lives. So understand, Democrats, that Americans are getting tired of this. They want tax reform. They want a healthcare system where they can make the choices, not the government. And yet, you still try to overtax, you try to overregulate, and it's not working. So Democrats, stop moaning and groaning because you came to the table and you offered nothing. You didn't even sit down at the table with the big boys and hammer something out that you would have liked, or try to put something in there that you would have liked. But instead, you chose party over the people of the United States. And that's where it's going to harm you greater and greater as time goes by, because they see no results out of the Democratic Party. Sad, isn't it? So anyway, the Senate bill has passed. Now we go into conference. Let's see what happens in the next few days. I congratulate the Senate for doing their job. And we're now at the first step of tax reform. Still a lot more work to do. Still, I push you, please still get involved. Still contact your congressman, contact your senator, tell them what you think, tell them what you would like. You still have the ability to take back our nation, but you have to let your voice be heard. If your voice just sits there and you just do nothing, don't expect anything to happen that you like. Get involved. That's what America's all about. This is Mike Lodge. Everybody, have a great weekend. This is the WBT.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.